Hi Dan, this is update video for the organizational standards that was created by Dan Goldstein and has since evolved. Dan kindly gave a talk on this at the first legal summit, which was then put into the book, the very first draft of the standards. And since 2019, when that presentation took place, I understand there's been quite a few updates. So Dan, what's been going on?
Well, quite a bit. First of all, the standards now have a home with the IAAP, and one step was giving it a name. It has now been christened Smart Business for All, or SB for All, with the usual absence of space marks, because that's the world of digital work these days. But more substantively, the benchmarking tool, the SB for All, has been undergoing a series of iterative makeovers, the most significant of which was to add disability inclusive emergency planning and disaster resilience standards, which were developed by Marcy Roth at the World Institute on Disability. Marcy, having worked at FEMA, as a background in this area, and COVID and climate change, not to mention serial shooters, brought to our attention the need to make sure that institutions have sufficiently planned for their customers, their employees, and anyone else who may be on site when there is an emergency or disaster. So that has been a large add-on. Second, under the agreement with the steering committee, with IAAP, these standards are controlled by disability rights consumer organizations. So if, for example, a company should say, well, we have a problem with manual testing, or we have a problem with the development process, or whatever, can we change the standard in this way or that? That goes to the steering committee that makes the decision. And the steering committee at present includes the NFB, the NAD, the ALDA, the ASAN, the NCIL, the ARC, the World Institute on Disability, the Bazelon Center, and three individuals, Eve Hill, Mary Vargas, and myself. If Mary's name is unfamiliar to some of your audience, she has done a lot of work on behalf of people with severe allergies, like food allergies, but also on behalf of the deaf. I anticipate that the committee will have a few more additions. Right now, we don't have a consumer organization for the deafblind, and there are several, and I'm hoping that that can change. And while we have NCIL, it would be good to have a group more specifically focused on mobility issues. The benchmarking tool itself is currently a very clumsy Excel document of a much expanded and modified version of what I published in 2019. And so it's being put into an app. And the challenge is finding an accessible project management tool, and then adding resources that will help guide a company in implementation. Finally, we're in the process of developing a process document that will outline the project from soup to nuts, how a corporation can begin and what's expected of them, together with a business model for IAAP, because we're not expecting them to do this as a venture that will deplete their resources. And finally, we're working on a third-party validation and badging process so that we can, at the end, make an appropriate award to a company that finishes the tool. Finally, we're in discussion with a handful of organizations about how to beta test, excuse me, not how to, but to beta test this tool, because I think having some companies try to implement all this in practice will reveal some gaps. It will reveal some ambiguities that we would want to address before we present it to the world.
Thanks, Dan. Thanks. That was good to hear that it's found a new home. We'll, of course, post a link to the IAAP site for the new tool. And I understand that you're talking at the M-Enabling Summit on the Wednesday, I believe.
That's my understanding.
Yeah.
Of course,
So
in COVID, it's nothing's ever certain.
In the current times, indeed. Well, thanks, Dan, for providing the update. Much appreciated, and good luck with the rest of the project.
Thank you. I look forward to the Legal Summit this year.
Cheers.